Version 2 of Ticker is done and released. And after several weeks on the App Store, it had been downloaded once. If you want to see the two main reasons that happened, stick around. But first, let's talk about the new features I added to Ticker, ranked for absolutely no reason. Starting at 10 is a bug fix. Who wants to fix their own bug? You can't blame anybody, and you have to take time away from adding new features. 0 out of 10. But still, it's a critical fix because nothing fuels imposter syndrome like a user finding a bug. Luckily, I was the one that found this bug, so I'm able to address it before anybody points and laughs at me. The bug is when you go to complete a activity and then change your mind and just dismiss that save view, the timer wasn't restarting. So I just had to go and resume the timer with whenever the user would dismiss the save activity screen. Number 9 is improve the autosave. Well, this wasn't exactly a bug, it was crucial that I fix this. Ticker is all about helping you time your activities so you can reach your goals. And what was happening was if the app crashed or more likely killed by accident by the user, then it wasn't saving your time spent towards your activity. And there was just too much risk of data loss. So in addition to the autosave on every minute that the activity was running, I also saved every time that the app went from background to active. So that way, if the user picked up their phone, went to Ticker to see how long they've been in their activity, that time was saved at that point. So I'm just introducing more chances that that data can be saved. And then in the event that the app is crashing or accidentally closed, at least some of your data has been saved. Next up is adding an activity for any day. This is the start of the real convenience features being added into Ticker for version 2. Previously, you could add a manual activity if you accidentally forgot to add it, but you were stuck with that activity only going to today's date. So now, when you add an activity, you can set it for any previous day. So say you completed an activity yesterday, but forgot to record it in Ticker. That's okay, now you can go in and add that activity to yesterday's list. Ticker is meant to help you reach your goals on a daily basis. You may have one activity a day, but I find that in my use case, I was getting several activities. And it was hard for me to look at my list of activities and know how much time I'd put in towards them today. So that's where goal summaries come into play. The goal summaries add up all of your time for each goal that on that day and gives you a quick view to see how much progress you've made towards your goal today. Next is goal groups. Here's another real convenience feature. When you're going to start an activity, you have to select all of the goals that activity counts towards. And you quickly realize if you're doing multiple goals for an activity, it becomes a little cumbersome to add in each goal. And if you're doing an activity over and over for the same sets of goals, it really starts to wear you down. So I introduced group goals. This way you can click one button and it auto selects all of the goals in a defined group. So instead of clicking through all of the goals that you need to add for a repeated activity, you go and create a group of goals, and then when you start the activity, you just select that one group, and then you're ready to go. This one is huge for my actual use case. I find that when I start these activities, I nearly always forget to start the ticker on time. When I did remember to start it, I didn't know if I should create a ticker a manual ticker for the time that I'd already been out and then start a new one to start timing it from that point on, or not create one and create a manual one later, or just start it and try to remember to edit the time later. It makes much more sense to just start the ticker when I remember, but start it from the amount of time that I've already been doing the activity. So if I started 10 minutes ago but forgot to do it, I can just say start the timer with 10 minutes and then start it, and I'm ready to go. Sometimes I really just don't want to think about a name for an activity, and that's evident when you look at my testing activities that I use. I just mash on the keyboard and hit start. But in real life, I still don't want to come up with a meaningful name for an activity every time. And a lot of the times that activity name is the same. So I introduce suggestions that are based on your previous activities that you've already created. Bonus for future development, this allows me to group up activities by name later on. Now we're getting into the top 3, which are really the ones I'm most excited about and were just really fun to develop. At number 3, there's the calendar view. I think this just really makes sense for Ticker. Ticker's there to help you reach your goals. And the best way to see your progress towards your goal is to look back at a month at a time and see what days or how many days you've had an activity to take steps towards reaching that goal. So a calendar view allows you to see that, and you can still click into each of the days and see details about the activities you did that day. Overall, I just think it really helps you see your progress towards reaching your goal. Next is the most obvious thing to add to Ticker. When you're doing an activity, it only makes sense that if you wanted to add an image, you're going to want to add that image while you're doing the activity. My wife's use case is to track our kids' outdoors time. She can start an activity for our kids, enjoy the outdoors with them, and when they're doing something adorable, she can take her phone out, take a picture in Ticker, and save it right to the activity at that point. Instead of taking the picture and then after that moment has passed, finish the activity and might not think to add the image at that time. But when you add it during the activity, there's no forgetting. And that just makes so much more sense for Ticker. And I am so glad this is in there now. And finally, just what I think is adding nice polish is the redesign of the view of the current running timer. Even with my lack of design skills, I'm pretty proud of how this one turned out. I see 2 main scenarios when you're really wanting to see your current activity. You're idly using Ticker and you just want to take a quick peek at how long the activity's been running. And 2, you really want to see what's happening with your activity and look at all the details for it and maybe add an image at that time. So that obviously points to having 2 different view types. In version 1, there was just one that sat at the top of the activities view and just took up space, which is great when you want all of those details, but when you don't really care about them at that point and you want to see more information about other activities you've done, it just gets in the way. So I've taken inspiration from Spotify and created a small block at the bottom to show the current running time. It gives you everything you need without taking up too much space. And when you want those details, you can open up the detail view in full screen and see them clearly. I think these are really valuable improvements to Ticker, and I'm proud of what I've done for version 2. It provides value to users who want to track their time spent towards their time-based goals. And V2 just makes that easier. So why no downloads? As I mentioned before, I think it comes down to two things I did. I think the biggest mistake comes down to a deployment decision. I had wanted to monetize version 2 in some way. I was going to put a few of these features behind a paywall, but I ended up deciding against that, mostly because I didn't want to implement it. So I ended up making it a paid app, and that was a huge mistake. Nobody wants to spend money, even just 99 cents, to test an unproven app. Second, I spent nearly no time promoting this app. I found a few subreddits and made a post there, and found a few more that I think members of those subreddits would find Ticker useful, but they had rules against no self-promotion, so I didn't post anything there. And then I just kind of gave up finding other options. So I went with what I had in those other subreddits and crossed my fingers. And obviously that didn't work. It sat in the App Store for a few weeks doing absolutely nothing, so I decided to set it back to being a free app. At that price, users can't afford to give it a try. There actually was somebody who bought the app for 99 cents, and they did it on the day that I changed it. And I didn't even know it until after I changed the price. I kind of feel a little bad about that, but it's just 99 cents, and hey, I made my goal of making some money on the internet by the end of the year. Even with the change in price, it's unlikely that it'll get much traction without me promoting it. I still need to drive people there to get them to download it. So I'm thinking of new ways to promote Ticker. I'm thinking of some short form videos showing off these new features that I've added to Ticker, and hope that some users find it and have a use case for Ticker and go check it out. That being said, this is another way I can promote Ticker, is through my YouTube channel. So if you have any use for tracking your time-based goals, go download Ticker and give it a shot. It is free now. So that wraps up V2 of Ticker. It's time to move on to new things. I did actually finish up one other app, a Disney Vacation Club app. You can check that out if you're a member or just curious about that. And let me know if you want a devlog about that. It is complete right now, but I am unfortunately working my way through some bugs, so there might be some cool content there. I'm wanting to make more apps and branch into new things too. I've created a website that I may or may not be pushing out to a wider audience. We'll see. There's probably another video about that in the future. But if you want to keep up with what I've been doing, consider subscribing, and I'd love to see you around for the next video. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.